Namaste. My name is Reema Gulati and I'm a sadhak at the Yoga Institute, the oldest organized yoga center in the world. And today we are going to talk about don't be a pushover. Well, if you are one, you will know that it is easier said than done. I've been in this scenario and let me tell you, it's not easy, but it's also not impossible. So before we begin, let's just understand what do we mean by being a pushover. If you are someone who struggles to say no even when you want to, so if somebody's made a request you don't want to do, but yet you find yourself in a position where you cannot say no, then you are a pushover. If you are somebody who avoids conflict at all costs, avoiding conflict as such is a good thing. But if it is coming from a place of let me just do whatever someone is asking me to do because or else I'll have to get into conflict, then that's not a very healthy thing. And if your self-worth is tied to other people's validation, then again you fall into the same category. What happens in general, let's just try and understand. At least what I can share is what happened to me. I was raised in a surrounding where if anybody ever made a request, then it would be considered rude if you said no. So while it's a good thing that if you can do something for someone, then those are the habits that one needs to cultivate and there is nothing wrong with that. But if doing things for others comes at a cost of violating your own boundaries or putting yourself in a very uncomfortable situation and yet doing it because otherwise you're scared that you will end up being rude or making others unhappy, then that's a very, very unhealthy state that one creates for themselves. Needless to say that it also results in low self-esteem and low self-worth. So how do you then go about breaking it? Because when you are conditioned and when you grow up with that idea that if I say no, then it will be considered rude, and I'm sure that those who consider or who are able to relate themselves to what we are calling a pushover will agree to it, that how difficult it is at the core for you to say no to a request. For me, it invariably meant that if I say no, I'm being rude and I didn't want to be rude. It's only when I learned that there is another way also. I can say no without being rude. It comes with practice. Yes, it is not easy, but you have to start somewhere. So you can start somewhere small. To me, fortunately, when my guru and I were discussing about ahimsa, and in that, in that whole discussion, this thing came up. And when she said that ahimsa pehle apne aap se karo. So, you have to practice non-violence with yourself first. So when you allow others to break your boundaries, or if you do not have any healthy boundaries to start off with, then you're being very violent to yourself. And then when we go about propagating about non-violence to the outside world, but you are creating violence to yourself. So that for me was a place where I had to stop and rethink this whole concept of always saying yes. And that allowed me to be able to say no and yet be respectful. So I do respect your request, and if it is possible for me to do it, then yes, I will do it. But if it is too much for me to handle, then I would just very politely say that this is as much as I can do, but beyond this, I'm sorry, I will not be able to. In a very respectful and polite manner, I started communicating. 9 out of 10 times it was received well, to my utter surprise. Yes, there were moments when some people did not like it because you train others, right, with your behavior. When people know that this one is a pushover and she can be manipulated into doing what I want her to do, then suddenly you stand up for yourself. Some people don't take it well, but that's okay. I think it's a very small price to pay because you start reclaiming your space, you start reclaiming your boundaries, and that is very, very important if you want to walk this path of cultivating your own self-worth, if you want to walk a path of being authentically you, then it's worth it. It's a very small price to pay. And like I said, 9 out of 10 times, I was pleasantly surprised that people respected my boundaries and it was received well. The key for me was to be respectful and polite in communicating that this is my boundary and this is only as much as I can do. It's like, like a band when you can stretch. We are flexible that way. We can stretch, we can accommodate other people. But to what extent that you just stretch but not snap is a limit that each one of us has to set for themselves. Like for me, it's very important to have me time. And many times when you have guests at home, you don't get that. So while it is fine for a day, 2 days, that's my limit. On the third day, I try and excuse myself for an hour or so and either go and catch up with a friend for a short while or just go to my room and read a book. I'll do everything that I have to do and then I'll politely request that, while you are comfortable, you can watch something or go for an outing and I would like to stay at home for a short while. So I do take those me time so that I am able to be present for my guest in a much better manner. So what I'm trying to say here is it also matters where are we coming from. So if our intention is to accommodate as well as to be present if there is an equal transaction there, then it is fine. But if we are very indifferent and we are not considerate, that is not what I'm trying to say, that you don't consider only, because at the end of the day, we all live in a very social environment where each one needs the other. So yes, there is important that we accommodate others, but at the same time, we create space for ourselves too. So that is the first step that one needs to understand if you want to get out of this habit, this pattern of being a pushover. But let's be honest, no one likes to be a pushover. Knowing that your emotions can be easily manipulated and you can be played at leaves you feeling very weak and not in control. And yes, we don't like that. Nobody likes that. But again, if you are anybody like how I used to be, where I didn't know what else can I do, because this is who I am, this is what I have done for years. So what different can I do, or what else? How do I shift this? How do I change this? For me, this small thing, or it's not actually a small thing, it was a very big thing, but came in a very simple manner of respecting myself as much as I respect the others. And when I communicate, and even when I have to say no, or I'm not able to do what the other person wants me to do, I have the ability to communicate that in a respectful manner. This idea, this understanding, this realization was the key for me to start on this journey of setting healthy boundaries. And I would greatly encourage everybody to have healthy boundaries in every relationship. I've been there knowing how it is to not have boundaries and allow people to walk all over you. And it's not a very good place to be at. But mind you, when I'm saying this, I'm not saying that you do not be considerate or you do not be accommodative of your relationships. No, I'm not saying that. It's very important that we show compassion and we show empathy in our relationships. And there will be moments when we will have to stretch our boundaries, and that is okay, as long as there is mutual respect, as long as you're doing it out of choice and not from a place where you don't know anything else and you just do not have a choice but to give in. So reclaiming that space, reclaiming that boundary for yourself is very, very important. And like how yoga also always speaks about being rooted in the practice of non-violence. So before we start practicing non-violence to the outside world, we need to learn to practice that for ourselves. And this is one small way that we can start it. I know that initially it will be difficult if you've never done it, but trust me, it is totally worth it. So I hope that this was helpful to you. Namaste and thank you.